So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Bernard Jenkins, notorious Brexiteer, trying to rewrite history, saying that no one foresaw that any government would make such a mess of Brexit. Well, I can tell you there were multiple trade experts who said they would. There were multiple trade experts and experts in other fields that said this was a big mistake and you're going to mess this up. But no. It's funny, he's the second person who's blamed Theresa May for the failings of Brexit, which is ironic considering that you guys said we held all the cards. Did Theresa May not play them properly? Did she use a trap card instead of a spell card? What happened? So, the Northern Ireland Protocol, a forced inheritance from Miss May's backstop, is now destroying peace and stability in Northern Ireland and will prove to be politically fraudulent. Mate, what's causing the problems in Northern Ireland is you guys not agreeing an SPS agreement. You guys voting on the Northern Ireland Protocol. You voted in support of this Bernard Jenkins. So don't try and blame Theresa May for a vote that you made and that you did. You did this to Northern Ireland. You're the party that's destroying the union, despite being called, ironically, the Conservative and Unionist Party. Shut up, bruv. Honestly, Bernard Jenkins, what an absolute fraud. So he says, has Brexit turned out as expected? Yes and no. Okay then. I mean, I would say no, but sure. I certainly got one thing wrong. I thought few MPs would seriously contest the result of a referendum. If Remain had won by a similar margin, we would have been given no quarter had we contested the legitimacy of the result. But the problem is, mate, because you won, you didn't define what Brexit was. No one had. You've got this man here, Owen Patterson, saying only a madman would leave the single market. You've got here Daniel Hannan saying let's stay in the single market. So you guys had no idea what victory looked like. It was similar to the Afghanistan war. What is victory? Define it. What are the parameters of success? You never did. Most of you guys said, oh yeah, nothing will change for EU citizens. You lied. Constant lies. That's all you did. So I don't understand why you're going to argue that, oh, Remainers constantly contested the result. You guys said we could be like Norway, like Switzerland, and we are like none of those two. We're a third country. We're closer to, like, say, Japan or Canada than we are to Norway or Switzerland. Talking about, being in the tiers within the EU. So this is just, this argument here is stupid. Many of us originally argued that the referendum question should call for a new relationship with our EU partners, but others wanted a plain in-out question. I mean, a new relationship is equally nebulous because it doesn't mean anything. It could mean anything and everything, honestly, so it's just stupid. You could argue when David Cameron got changes around benefits rules, that is a new relationship with the EU. Things had changed there around kind of freedom of movement. So, again, another stupid thing. So Jenkins goes on to say, we warned them, don't imagine that the UK can vote to leave the EU and we would just then leave. I mean, that's what you said. This would be the easiest thing in the history, all this blah, blah, blah nonsense. You guys made countless statements about how easy Brexit would be and how successful it would be. So, again, you're rewriting history. And he says, and why choose a question which will be so much harder to win? We got this right on 2 counts. Well, okay, fine. The argument that... asking the question, a new relationship with the EU rather than an in-out referendum probably would have been easier to win, the new relationship thing, because it's way more nebulous than an in-out referendum. But the simple fact is you won, get over it. Why are you complaining about winning? He said, Jenkins, I was one of only a minority of leave-inclined MPs who believed we could actually win such a vote. And you won. Congratulations. But look at the results of your win. It's not great. This isn't even a hollow victory. This is defeat quoted as a victory. You've destroyed this country. You've caused massive economic damage and political instability in Northern Ireland. And you're still saying, I was one of the first ones who wanted this. You just make yourself look more stupid. At least the ones who used Brexit for political gain, sort of like Boris Johnson, Gove and all these people, at least they got something out of it. What did you achieve? Nothing. You're just a backbencher. He says, first, the in-out referendum was indeed much harder to win. It was only after we saw the Scottish referendum that opinions could change, and polls weren't the most accurate. That's kind of what he's saying there. And it was only after the 2015 election that many of us first committed to leave. So it wasn't even that long that you committed to leave. Okay, then. Nigel Farage has been doing it since the 90s, I think. So, you're a newcomer compared to people like him. Jenkins says, because we could not consider voting to endorse the whole Maastricht through Lisbon and the emerging EU federal state. And let me let you in on a secret, Jenkins, right? We could have stopped any extra EU federalisation if we wanted to, because we have a veto to stop these things. You do realise this, right? You do realise we could have stopped any kind of, harmonisation of corporate tax rates, of income tax rates, of minimum wage, we could have stopped any of that because we have a veto. You might not have known that, Bernard Jenkins, but you do now. It's one of the reasons why the EU struggled to get the global tax rate thing through, because Ireland said they didn't want a higher tax rate than their normal tax rate they have now. So we could veto this stuff, and obviously, maybe you didn't know that because maybe you're a complete fraud. I don't know. So he goes on to say, just after the 2015 Cameron victory, however, I was still one of only a tiny minority of Leave-inclined MPs who believed we could actually win such a vote. And again, congratulations, you did it. And he says, secondly, Bill Cash, John Redwood and Owen Paterson, with me and a few others, were right to warn that leaving the EU would be long and disputed in negotiations. That's not what you guys said at all. Let's see what Owen Paterson had to say again. Only a madman would leave the single market. I guess the country is full of madmen considering we left. So this argument he's making here about these, couple of people here, Bill Cash, he's talking nonsense still. John Redwood, he's talking nonsense still on Twitter. Owen Paterson, he's irrelevant now. I don't hear anything about him. So all of you guys have fallen out of relevancy. And the simple fact is you were all wrong about the EU. The EU didn't fold. We didn't hold all the cards. We're looking at a potentially £41 billion divorce bill from this. Did you put that on a bus? Did you? Nah, shut up, bruv. He says, I also freely admit I underestimate how the EU would be prepared to damage the interests of its own exporters and consumers in order to defend its fragile political authority. If anything, Brexit has shown how strong the EU is, because the EU has lost arguably its second or third strongest member, depending on where you rank France. The EU has lost one of its most powerful members. It's like if your football club sold your second best player and then they still go on to win the league. The EU is still doing fine without us. And so this argument about political authority is just shambolic. Also, the fact that if the EU did give us this special bespoke deal that you guys talked about, where we'd be in the single market without paying anything, do you think the French wouldn't kick off? People within Germany wouldn't kick off? People within Italy wouldn't kick off? And other countries, Portugal, wouldn't kick off about it? So the argument here that the EU is damaging itself, no, the EU is protecting itself. The EU is a project. The idea that you can have free trade amongst nation states, free movement, free trade, free movement of capital, all of these things. The EU is a project of a way to run an economic bloc. Is far more intertwined than any other trading bloc that consists of nation states. The only thing you could argue that's more intertwined is potentially the USA, which is a collection of states, but of not nation states, but federal states that are combined together. That's the only project that's more ambitious than the EU, but that's slightly different, anyways. Because they're not separate nation states, they're just states, federal ones, or however Americans design it. So this argument about the EU damaging itself is stupid, because if the EU gave us a phenomenal deal, everyone else within the EU and other third countries would have kicked off about it. So this argument here, very stupid. And then he talks about having a proper free trade agreement with mutual recognition of standards. If we wanted a mutual recognition of standards, we wouldn't scrap the EU standard and put in our own one, which is going to cause us massive problems. So then, again, another fraud point from him. Regulatory equivalence. We're the ones threatening to deregulate services right now, because Sunak couldn't get equivalency. We're the ones signing deals with countries where they have lower food standards than us, which could cause the export of lower grade Australian beef with hormones and stuff injected to it. So again, regulatory equivalence, that wasn't going to happen, especially with us threatening deregulation. So again, some more stupid points here, saying that this may still evolve and would become far better for UK-EU trade and jobs on all sides. Yeah, if the UK stopped messing around and held to EU standards, we would be okay. But we're not going to do that, are we? Because we want to go down our own road, the road to ruin. And that begins with a single step. And that's the path we're going down. So this man here, Bernard Jenkins, I couldn't be asked to pull up the quotes he said, during the referendum, just because it's not worth my time. But this guy trying to rewrite history and blaming Theresa May is just so stupid and so symbolic of mediocre politicians who would blame their predecessors and blame other people for the problems they helped to create. So the people like him are absolute frauds, and kind of the main issue we have within Britain is just mediocre politicians who have no idea what they're doing, and they happily lie to people, but once those consequences come in, they'll blame others. There will never be a day where people like Bernard Jenkins, Owen Paterson, all these people who push for Brexit who are wrong, when will that day come where they admit it? Because I don't think it'll ever happen. Maybe on their deathbed they will admit that they were wrong about this. Who knows? But people like Bernard Jenkins make me sick, honestly. But look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.